Okay, so this is a parallelogram. We can tell because, well, I'm telling you it's a parallelogram. But the key feature about parallelograms is that opposite sides are congruent. So if this side is 5, this is 5. And if this side is 8, this is 8. Now, a special type of parallelogram is a rectangle. And most of us know that the area of a rectangle is equal to the base times the height. Well, it doesn't get any different for this parallelogram, which is a non-rectangular parallelogram. The formula for a parallelogram is still just area equals base times height. Now, the question for us becomes, what is the height? Is it this side 5, or is it 8, or is it this random 4? Well, remember, if you go to the doctor's office and you get your height measured, you stand up nice and straight. So if you have the floor, right, that's your base, and then you stand up nice and straight, imagine your legs are perpendicular to the ground, to the base. That's the relationship between base and height. The base is perpendicular to the height. So here, of the base and the height, these two sides are going to be the base and the height. So for this particular parallelogram, we have 4 times 8, which is 32. Now, for these types of questions, typically going to have units associated with them. When we have area, it's always the unit squared. So here we have a parallelogram. We can see we can call the base, so if we have base times height, we can call the base 7, and we can say that the height is 5.9. Again, notice this perpendicular nature between the two. Now, if I multiply these together, I have 7 times 5.9, and that gives me 41.3. So the area for this first one is equal to 41.3 yards squared. Again, it's not yards, it's yards squared. As soon as we multiply yards times yards, it becomes yards squared. Just the same way that 5 times 5 is 5 squared. For number 2, same deal. Now, it doesn't really matter what we call base and the height because we're multiplying them together. 5 times 10 is the same as 10 times 5. This 10 really should be the base because it's on the outside if we want to be technical. But again, mathematically it doesn't matter because we get the same value when we multiply. So area is equal to 10 times 5. So we get that the area is equal to 50, again, feet squared. You might see square feet, which is the same thing, but we don't write it like square feet. We just write feet squared. Or we spell out square and feet. But we do not put the square on the 50 because that's a different number. Over here, we have that the area is again base times height. This is a really long and drawn out one, but it's still going to be the same value. So we have that the area is equal to the base times the height, so in this case 7.9 times the 6.3, and that gives us 49.77 inches squared. And finally, if we do the base times the height, or the base times the height, we're going to get 42 inches squared. So the key here is, again, just multiply those. Now, sometimes maybe the height is not given, but maybe you're given a side. Well, then you're going to have to maybe use some trigonometry, use some Pythagorean relationships to get it. But right now, especially for what we're doing, it's just knowing that the formula for the area of a parallelogram is base times height.